Hello and welcome to the F1 show with me, Hugh. And thank you very much for listening to my live commentary that I did on Saturday. And apologies for Sunday. They brought the race forward. They brought the race start forward, and both Rue and I were travelling and were unable to get home in time for the start of the race. So I was only able to watch it on my phone and unfortunately not able to commentate on it. But we will try and do that. Although in saying that, we've just found out that Podbean Live is actually finishing at the end of May. So I won't be able to use that platform for our live streams and such. But obviously I can use it for the normal recorded programmes. But the F1 Grand Prix at Miami, my goodness, it was quite an intense race with Kimi Antonelli setting a record, getting his third straight victory. Which is fantastic for the Italian, really showing how good he is. He was able to pull away from George Russell and really dominate the race, even though Lando Norris was pushing him for a good bit. He always managed to keep about 1 second or 2 to 3 seconds towards the end of the race. So he was showing that that car is still very good. But certainly, you've got to wonder, is Antonelli a tip for the title? If he keeps going like this, I always find that drivers who win early on in the season do tend to go out and win the championship. So what do you think will happen? Let's have a quick look at the race results, just in case you had missed anything previously. So in first place, it was Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes. In second, it was Lando Norris. And in third, Oscar Piastri, getting that third place on the last couple of laps there from Charles Leclerc, who we'll talk about in a few minutes. Then it was George Russell in fourth, Max Verstappen in fifth, a very heavily revised Red Bull car there that was very competitive, really, really strong. You got to wonder if he hadn't had that first corner incident, if he had been even further up the grid. Then it was Lewis Hamilton who had a coming together with Colapinto on the first lap, and that really kind of ruined his race, and sadly he was over 53 seconds behind after that. And then Charles Leclerc was dropped down to 8th place, Carlos Sainz was 9th, Albon was 10th. Let's have a look further down. Behrman was 11th, hardly heard about him. Bortolello 12th, Ocon was 13th, Lindblad 14th, Alonso 15th, Perez 16th, Stroll was 17th, and Bottas 18th, and all the others didn't finish. Hulkenberg, Lawson, Gasly, and Hadjar all failed to finish the race. So McLaren had a very much revitalised performance in Miami, with both Lando Norris finishing second and Oscar Piastri finishing third after a very close battle with Leclerc in the closing stages. In fact, he got that place on the last lap after Leclerc spun. So it was a much improved race there. And you've got to say, the last couple of races, Lando has been very, very strong. And I think both him and Piastri are looking as real title contenders, and maybe the other ones to push Antonelli, or if anything happens to that Mercedes, I think Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri could be there to pick up the pieces. And depending on the continued improvement of that McLaren, if they can bring more upgrades, will they actually be able to compete with them head to head? We'll have to see. But a greatly improved performance by the McLaren duo. Now for Max Verstappen, a very controversial weekend indeed. At the first corner, he came round, hit the gas a little bit too much, in the words of Martin Brundle, just stamped on that gas pedal, and the car spun round, but miraculously he was able to avoid anyone else and keep the car going, and then in turn continue on, but he lost an awful lot of places. Now he said it was one of the Alpines and a few other cars that very nearly collided into him, but I think first lap battles are so close, and when you have so many cars fighting over such a small amount of space, it was really quite miraculous that there wasn't a big pile-up and Max could have been out of the race. But he did complain to the stewards, saying that there was dangerous driving by some of the other drivers, but there was no further action taken. And that meant that Max decided to get onto social media after the race to really say what he thought. In fact, he said good stewarding on his social media posts to kind of prove to the stewards what he thought of them, and he really thought there should have been more done and potentially other drivers penalised. But what do you think? You can let me know in the comments. I have to say, I know you might say there's been a bit of yo-yo racing, but for after 4 races, it's been quite exciting. I mean, we are getting good races, and there's even better news to come. So make sure you keep listening. Now, Miami always brings us lots of special guests from the world of Hollywood and international sport. And none other than Messi was in Miami. Lionel Messi, who is one of the most high-profile guests of the weekend, and certainly an amazing footballer, had visited the Mercedes garage, and he met George Russell, and also got an autograph from Kimi Antonelli. We can see the details here, as they are both there, standing next to a very, very small Lionel Messi. I thought he would be taller than Formula One drivers, but the footballer is actually smaller. And but there's lots and lots of Hollywood lot as they all come to visit. We've got let's see, Stefano Domenicali, along with Messi there, with the driver's collar Pinto, and also Kimi Antonelli. That of course it was the home race for Cadillac, and yeah, at least they managed to finish. Well, one of them did, in fact. We had Perez finish 16th and didn't do too badly in that as well. Thankfully, they weren't using that kind of Cadillac, as you can see in the picture here, no classic Cadillac convertible. They had a proper Formula One car. And, the times are coming down. They are closing up a little bit. They've got a lot to learn. But as it's their first year and 4 races in, I'm sure they'll be quite happy with the progress that is being made. So, they did say that Florida runs the race rather well, and McLaren went big in Miami with ambitious fan experience from the McLaren Racing Live. This is a 5-day event in the Regatta Harbour featuring activations, displays, and even an appearance from the 2025 Constructors' Trophy. However, Thursday's events were certainly a highlight as Norris, Oscar Piastri and Emerson Fittipaldi and Mika Hakkinen and Bruno Senna took some of the team's most recognisable cars for a spin around the 305. Some lineup of the stars. Piastri enjoyed some time in Lewis Hamilton's championship-winning car from 2008, and Bruno Senna drove his uncle Ayrton's MP4-6, while Fittipaldi and Hakkinen were reunited with their championship-winning cars from 1974 and 1999, respectively. Of course, Mika Hakkinen's daughter is also shaping up to go into racing. She's already done quite a bit, and I think they're trying to get her into F1 Academy and more, so watch out. There might be another Hakkinen about, this time of the female variety. Very exciting to see what could happen from there as well. Now, for all you Charles Leclerc fans, it was a bit of a disappointing Sunday evening after such a great start. I mean, for a good bit of the time, Leclerc was actually leading up until safety cars and a few issues. Eventually, Antonelli did get past him. But that car was looking good and Charles Leclerc was making the most of it. But unfortunately, he suffered a high-speed spin on the final lap of the Miami Grand Prix, avoiding a huge accident but still suffering front left damage and tapping into the turn 3 wall. As a result, he lost his podium finish to Oscar Piastri, and then he desperately attempted to fend off the Mercedes of George Russell and, of course, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. But somehow he suffered a steering arm damage, and he undercut several corners and pushed the lap cars of Avid Lindblad out of the way. He also made slight contact with Russell at the hairpin, and he lost places to both the Mercedes man and Verstappen at the line. So after the race, the FIA stewards investigated the contact with Russell, as well as Leclerc allegedly leaving the track and gaining an advantage. Leclerc was handed a drive-through penalty for the latter, which was converted into a 20-second penalty post-race. And this means, of course, that he lost a number of places and finished behind Lewis Hamilton, who originally had been in 7th, but he got into 6th place. So Leclerc dropped down to 8th, behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton. So that was really a weekend to forget, of course, because Hamilton had hit Colapinto and had contact on the first lap. That had caused damage, and that pretty much meant that he was in no man's land, according to his own words, and really struggled because they felt the car had improved, but he couldn't really make the most of it. So when Imola comes, it's going to be very exciting. Can the Ferraris, they need to perform in front of the Tifosi, in front of the home crowd. We'll have to see if they do that. But yeah, there's certainly what impressed me was that although the Mercedes of Antonelli did win the race, the other cars had really picked up the pace. Red Bull, what an incredible turnaround for them. They reckon they've maybe halved their disadvantage over Mercedes in that. So that's a great piece of work for them. I think McLaren looked very strong. And Ferrari with Leclerc, and I think Hamilton would have been up there as well. He looked pretty good before that, coming together with Colapinto. If they can do the same and continue on, then potentially, and again, Imola's quite a short racetrack, so maybe that will work for them. And we'll have to see, will there be real overtakes? Will there be a new podium? Will there be a new winner coming up at the next Grand Prix? Well, we will let you know as soon as we have seen the next race. And of course, we'll also be joined by Levitius. He's going to be joining with us to do a Grand Prix review in the next week or two, so watch out for that. And I'll try and cover the news. I try and do it on a weekly basis so we can kind of go over all the news in a kind of nice, relaxed manner. And you can let me know in the comments what you think. And thanks as well, we've got our new fan club on Podbean. So if you want to join our fan club, you're very welcome. It's completely free and it would be fun to have comments with you and to make conversation. And if you want to come on the show and be a guest, email me info@hughhatrick.com and we can talk. And you can come on the show and you can let all the world know about your F1 views. We always have a great time, whether it be with Rue, Simon, Levitius, and anyone else that comes on our show. You're always welcome and it's great to have you on board. So, take care, everybody. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And you can see I've got a new mic here, a condenser mic, so hopefully it's not picked up any other sounds other than my voice here. But I will see you very soon. Drive fast, don't crash, and bye just now.